Happy Friday, everybody. It's Steven here with another market update. We're going to talk about Bitcoin today. Things are looking a little bright this morning, but is it the bottom? Is this just a little insignificant bounce before lower? Let's talk about it. So, I've been talking in previous videos and in the Discord about a few different bottoming scenarios for Bitcoin. I do not think the bull run is over. And I think there are basically a few prime candidates for a bottom. The first candidate is where we are right now. There's a number of reasons why we might bottom here. First of all, just from a very basic market structure standpoint, this is the protected low. This is the origin order block that all of this previous price action came from earlier this summer, right? So on the daily time frame, this is the low that needs to hold here around 98K in order to maintain the bullish daily market structure. This stuff up here, this is not a market structure break. This is just consolidation above demand, right? This is the line in the sand for the market structure. Now, if that breaks, is the bull run over? No, because we have higher time frame structure that can still support here on the monthly chart, right? So I'm not really concerned until we lose 74K. And although that sounds like a long way down, it's not that bad. It's 40% from absolute peak to trough, which is kind of par for the course for crypto volatility, right? So scenario one, we bottom here. Other thing we have going for us here is we've got the yearly VWAP, which is a pretty significant level for price, and you can see price kind of bouncing off of it at the moment, right? Scenario two is that we come down here towards this little clump of volume. You can see we're kind of in like a liquidity void right now. So it would make a lot of sense to sort of fill this liquidity void, come to this high volume node over here, which you can see is confluent with this demand just under 97K. So that could involve a sweep of these lows and a reclaim, right? It could involve us actually bouncing and ultimately liquidating all of this little liquidity right here. We've got the yearly open down here as well, which is another key level. So that's scenario two. And then my final scenario involves probably like a bounce here, and then we roll over, and then a much deeper pullback to around the sort of 84K region, which is where we have this other area of previous volume. And then we can also see this pretty obvious area of demand here, and this is the origin for the very high time frame move, the move of the entire year. So from one of these areas, we're looking to buy. Now, this morning in the Discord, I put out a note identifying that we'd gone long on Bitcoin here, and my rationale for being long is a few things. Like, one, we have these key levels that I've identified, right? The second is if we look on the lower time frames, right, it starts to look plausible that we've got a bit of a double bottom going on here, right? And you can see a little bit of a market structure shift here. So this looks pretty constructive. Now, even though I think it's probable that we go lower ultimately for a bottom, I still want to take the long here because I don't want us to pull one of these moves here and just start ripping. It's just going to be very awkward for me to figure out how to get involved at this point, right? Because it's going to be so easy to kind of come up here, maybe take that high and dump, or come up into this little supply here and dump. And there's not going to be any point in time where I'm comfortable longing. Like, I can maybe make a case for a reclaim of 116 or so. Probably good enough, right? But it's a lot higher from here. So for me, it's a lot easier to take the long down here, have a tight invalidation, and to basically give myself FOMO insurance in a way, so I'm not kind of panicking if price ends up pushing up here, right? If we start losing these levels, if we get a bad daily close, whatever, cut the position, no harm, no foul, take a little scratch, and I look to position lower, right? But the idea, big picture, is we're trying to catch a large move coming out of here, hopefully to 160, maybe a little higher, is what I would hope. The picture for the next year, I think, looks really, really good for risk assets, right? The one thing that's been giving me a little bit of pause has just been the Bitcoin NASDAQ ratio. Something I use to sort of track the relative attractiveness of investing in Bitcoin versus investing in the NASDAQ, right? And it's been my base case that we've basically seen this sort of deviation of range highs, and that price is probably going to want to move back to the lows, in which case we're still going to see another 25% or so of downside in Bitcoin versus the NASDAQ from here. And this would correlate pretty nicely with that move down towards the lower end of the range, that sort of like 84K region that we identified. But there is another scenario where this lower time frame range low actually holds, and we sort of push up here and then reclaim this level, at which point I think all of crypto probably starts sending. So this is a possibility. And if we get a little micro on the chart, right, we bust out our little 5-minute chart, you can see that this morning especially, there was some really wild outperformance of Bitcoin relative to the NASDAQ right here. So I think a little too soon to say if this is a reversal. This chart is still pretty bearish when you zoom out, but I am open to the possibility that this reclaims. And this would probably happen if my 100K double bottom scenario holds out. And again, I want to be positioned long here in case it does, because the invalidation is pretty close below us. And then the upside is just, well, who knows? Who knows how high this can go? And this is kind of the name of trading, right? It's identifying inflection points in the market where you lose a little bit if you're wrong and you make a lot if you're right. And the timing of that positioning is such that you can be pretty sure if the market does a particular thing one way or the other at that point in time, that is a signal and not noise. It's not a particular fake out. So that's kind of the logic behind positioning right now. And we've been updating those trades in the Discord and kind of keeping people up to date with what we're doing, why our entries are exits and all that stuff. So liking Bitcoin here, cautiously optimistic. It's been good to see the cleansing sentiment flip. We were bearish when people were, well, I guess, depressed. I don't know if people were bearish this weekend, but they were certainly depressed. They certainly weren't positioned bearishly. They were still long. Saw a lot of capitulation, anecdotally, from the people around me this week. So gives me hope that we can see a little rapid resolution in the government shutdown, hopefully next week. Who knows? Maybe they announce it Friday after the close today. But if that happens, that could be a pretty quick reversal in markets. And the one final thing I'll point out as a confluence for this idea is that if you look at the NASDAQ chart, the NASDAQ is at one of these inflection points, I would say, right? Like this is your daily structure right here. This is a pretty critical daily order block. You can see this low that we've swept in here this morning. Signs of potential reversal on the lower time frame charts, right? So if you're going to be bullish on stocks, like this is a pretty good point to be bullish on stocks, because if we end up losing this, right, this could start like a deeper, longer pullback, potentially something pretty painful, maybe back to these range highs here. So that would be pretty nasty move in stocks, 10% or so, which in Stockland is pretty bad. And this is probably the scenario where you get your 80, maybe 70K Bitcoin, and you get your absolutely annihilated altcoins. You get your $2,000 ETH or whatever. But again, not the base case. The base case, I think, is assuming that the trend will continue, buying here at support, buying Bitcoin at support. If the trend fails, if that support doesn't hold, we take it from there. But for now, long and strong, and just make sure your asset selection is good and everything is fine. All right, guys, that'll wrap it up for this video. As always, be sure to give it a like. Give me a little sub if you like this. I'm trying to make more content these days, focus a little less on trading actively and a little more on doing the analysis and educating people. So liking the channel, liking the video helps me out a lot. We got links in the description to my X, to the free Discord, to the premium Discord, along with a trial and discount code and all that good stuff. So if you've been liking this, you want a little bit more, feel free to just join us in the Discord, follow me on X, and I'll see you in the next video. Thanks, everybody.